Friends, maybe you didn't have time to sit through that 2-hour Fun Pimps dev stream the other day because, well, actually, who could sit up and watch 2 hours of that? So, what I have done, I have gone through the whole bloody long stream, actually multiple times, making videos, and I picked out a bunch of tidbits that are sort of short sound bites that I can give to you and tell you what it's all about. So I'm going to go through this really fast because there's so much in there, and I'm going to intersperse it with maybe some clips of the stream itself. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell because we're going to rush through this. First off, they said they have 60 people working for them, out of which 90% are working on 7 days tonight, which means that, well, 10%, meaning 6, are going to be working on their next project. They're also looking at going gold in 2022, which I don't think is going to happen. What about bandits? Player armor overhaul, they're actually working at that for now for Alpha 21 already. And as part of this, they're working on the new bandit models, and there are going to be 3 tiers for each bandit: light, medium, and heavy. What about the console? Well, they are negotiating for a console partner. Even more, they have announced that they are looking at potentially, or trying to, backport their next gen version into current gen, meaning that they'll launch it for PS5 and try to backport it for PS4 and the Xbox One, which is awesome. In addition, they're also going to try to do crossplay between all the games, which actually seem to potentially include their PC and dedicated servers for consoles. You'll be able to connect to a persistent dedicated server, probably going to be hosted one, so not necessarily one run on console itself, but a persistent one just like PC players have. What about the new random generation? Well, they're actually going to improve the preview or the generation of the map. So you'll have a bunch of settings that you can tweak, such as the biome density, the city density, and all of that. And I think that's going to be really cool because right now we are going to nitrogen or specifically kingen in order to get cool maps. They will be supporting 4K, 8K, and 10K worlds out of vanilla generation, and all the stamping, tiles, and everything that they are doing will fit into that generation. And that's something that is really cool because what they will be doing is that now when they generate, let's say, a whole countryside, they'll be able to stamp on, say, a canyon or mountain range or something, and for cities, they'll be able to create these different tiles, such as the roads, which will have decorations, the different POIs that are part of it, sewers, overpasses, in order to make things look a lot more random while also being natural, meaning you'll have, bus stops, you'll have street lights and pavements and sidewalks and all of that. Dynamic distant terrain is confirmed. There will be options from the low end where it will be generating the distant terrain for around your bedroll and your land claim block, up to heavier settings, which still seem to be performing quite well when they're doing the testing, which means that you'll be able to see your friend's base, or they'll be able to see your base, and not just when they get really close to it, it will actually show up in the distance. Another big change is how they're handling the different shapes. They will have a lot of block shapes that you'll be able to build in from the different materials. So they have organized them in different groupings, and you'll be able to use all of them as you are building. As always, they are introducing a bunch of new POIs, meaning buildings. They have, for instance, the Fallen Tower. They have a Downtown Fit Box. They have Modern House, well, it's more like a palace. They have the Brick Apartment, and more. They are continually churning these out. Zombies. We're all looking for new zombies, and there are really cool ones. Now, there's not necessarily new ones, except maybe the rat zombie, which is probably the only super new one that they're introducing, which has these kind of growth of radiation, pus, whatever things on its back. Now, the rat zombie probably will make it into Alpha 20. However, the specific animations where they have that ranged attack damage, where it's supposed to peel this off and throw it at you and inflict radiation damage, will only appear in Alpha 21, unfortunately. But we do have a new cool spider zombie model as well. No longer will be this regular zombie that is just crawling. It'll be this really terrifying one. And speaking of terrifying zombies, look at the new white. Oh, I think it looks awesome. So much better than the old one. And interestingly, we have that Kickstarter backer who has his own zombie type, which actually was used for the spider zombie. Now that one is being remade in HD and will be its own zombie type, just like the regular Joe and Mo, Arlene's, etc. I think that's awesome. Of course, we have the burnt zombie, we have the zombie dog. They did talk a little bit about the junk drone, which is going to be pretty much a pack mule that is able to heal you. It will no longer, as they planned in Alpha 19, have the ability to heal the player, but it will follow you around. It will no longer have the ability to attack zombies, but it will follow you around, carry your stuff, heal you, and it even has a nice light mod in order to shine ahead. But because it won't attack zombies, the zombies will no longer attack it as well. I think they did that for balancing reasons, because otherwise everyone would want to have one with them. All the traders have also been remade in HD, so for instance we have Trader Joel here. The Lumberjack was announced previously, he looks really good, will show up in snow biome mostly, but even in forest and other biomes potentially. The new nurse, obviously there has been people, I'm not going to say complaining, but they have feedback that they missed the previous look of it, but they wanted to make a new modern EMT kind of look of the zombie nurse. Now looking at the Screamer zombie that they have actually given some screenshots previously, they highlighted that it will have that animated jaw and tongue that will sort of open up wide as they scream, and the tongue will flick out and everything. And I think this is going to be really awesome. Everyone loves weapons, 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 weapons. So what they have been trying to do is to drag out, if that's the right term, but extend, maybe is a better term, the initial piece where you will now be able to have primitive weapons. You'll have your pipe weapons, and they showed, for instance, the pipe shotgun, which looks awesome with, sort of this homemade attachment. And you have the pipe machine gun as well, which is also looking really, really good. And they're meant to give the player something early on that is not super functional, but still sort of works. We also have the new lever action rifle, which will be taking the place of the marksman rifle. So the progression will be bolt action rifle, the lever action rifle, and then we have the sniper rifle. There is an argument that maybe they should have kept the marksman rifle rather than the sniper rifle because, we're shooting at maybe 40, 60, 80 meters distance. We're not shooting at 500 or 800 or 1,000 or 1,500 yards. We're shooting much, much nearer. So marksman rifle seems like it would fit better. Chainsaw. Oh, the new chainsaw. They have been really going all out here. Look at how bloody and rusty and everything it is. It looks like not necessarily it's been used to chop down trees, or saw down trees rather, but to saw down zombies. Please, Fun Pimps, give it higher damage against zombies because it should be able to just dismember them and chop them up. There's a new pump shotgun model as well to replace the earlier pump shotgun, which we've had for so long, and it looks really good. I'm glad they've been remaking it in HD. Now, they did also talk about the new pipe baton, which is going to come before the stun baton. However, they did not have any images. Oh, come on, show us some. As part of all this rebalancing with weapons, they have also been sort of changing the loot stages in a way that when you are out looting early on and you find ammunition, you'll only find a few different rounds. The same loot later on, higher loot stage, will then give you a lot more ammunition. So they've been able to sort of split that through the looting so that early in the game they can give you just a few rounds, but later on as it ramps up and you get all these blood hordes and a lot of zombies coming at you, harder zombies, they can ensure that there's a lot more ammunition and loot. And I think this is really good because that was a problem if you're looking at 18, 19, where you were out looting early on. You could get a lot of pistol rounds, a lot of shotgun rounds, etc., which seemed a little bit too much. But then later on, you basically were still getting the same amount, maybe a little bit more because of some extra book perks, which was not enough in order to fight off the zombies. Something that they always get requested is new textures, and they don't really have new texture because they have a problem because of limitations in the texture space. Now they are maybe increasing a little bit, giving us a couple of extra ones, but there's not going to be any significant changes now. What they are doing, however, you will be able to tint or color, for instance, your bedroll and your vehicle when you put them down. So if you want to have a green or red or blue in order to tell apart from your friends, you can do that. A really interesting feature that they've been trying to do in order to make it better and easier for player is to use, if you remember in Alpha 19 where you have quests, you'll have these markers where dig here, for instance. What they've done in the initial tutorials, they have actually been putting quest markers on all the items that you need to locate. For instance, you need to gather 2 stone in order to make your stone axe. They'll be marked nearby you. You need some wood, you need something, you loot some bird's nest. They will all be easily marked in order to get through this initial quest a lot easier, because If you've been playing the game like I have, you know that you start looking for stone and sometimes you just can't find any. You're looking for those bird's nests and you can't bloody find them. And it's so annoying because you just want to get through the initial quest. And this should really help. Feral sense. So they have been adding on a feral sense which has a setting for off, nighttime, daytime, all the time, etc. in order to add to the zombies how easy they can detect the players. So that's something that's going to really change the playstyle. If you put it all the time, they'll be able to sense you all day long, and well, night as well. Or you can turn it off and they will basically just sense you as regular. And I think this is something that's sort of matching the gameplay that you're having during the Blood Moon Horde versus the regular daytime where actually they don't sense you unless you make noise. Vehicle mods. They have a third seat mod in the 4x4. You'll be able to fit in 3 people. You'll also be able to put 2 people on the motorcycle, maybe on the mini bike, and maybe on the bicycle if they get that to work. Fuel econ mod, power mod will also be in there. And talking about release, that's well. Basically, they're looking for a Halloween experimental and end of the year stable, and then 2022 for the full version of Going Gold. I'm not really sure we're going to get the full version in 2022, but I think experimental to Halloween would be awesome. People have been asking about virtual reality, and they have said that if they do that, which is likely they'll do that towards the end. It'll be some simple, meaning head turning, not necessarily using your hands. You'll probably still be using keyboard and mouse. The game so far does not have much of a story. They are increasing the trader-to-trader progression as part of it. They are actually making an animated intro where I believe that Duke is going to be part of it, and they have more quests planned. They are prototyping the storyboard for Alpha 21, so maybe we'll start to see some of it for the next version. Not Alpha 20, but for 21. Performance is always an issue, and from their tests, it seemed to be equal to or better than Alpha 19, which I think is a load off a lot of people's chest because we don't want it to run worse. If you've been making mods, if you've been making POIs previously, they are looking at releasing a block item change conversion tool in order to make that easier. Something cool that they're also adding is that zombies will be able to crawl or duck under a 1x1 height, meaning that they'll be able to get to you a lot easier even if you're blocking off partway in a door. They'll be able to get through there, so that's going to make a big change. And if you're wondering whether the Fun Pimps are working in another game, yes, they actually announced that as well. Well, didn't quite announce, they mentioned it, that they have a top secret project where they have 9 developers working on it. It's going to be an Unreal game, but they're not ready to announce anything beyond that. But 9 developers, that's quite a lot of people. You can imagine a lot of other games who are hitting early access with 1, 2, maybe 3 person teams, and they already have 9 people. Of course, they're probably not all going to be hardcore developers. There might be some animators and graphics artists and stuff like that, but that's really cool. What do you think that is going to be? And that was the gist of it. What do you think? Worth a like? Well, make sure you hit that like button and catch me next time.
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the vetted community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.